Hello Gemini and welcome to my channel Tarot by Gabrielle. This is going to be a general reading for Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus placements, looking at your recent past, your current energy, and your immediate future, answering the question, what do you need to know right now in order to move forward in alignment with your higher self? Friendly reminder that these are general readings and they are not here to resonate fully for everyone, and they won't resonate fully for everyone. So do please remember to take what does resonate and helps your personal situation, and to leave what does not. Last thing is that any information on the extended reading or on booking a personal reading or coaching session with me is in the description box below. All right. Gemini, we're going to jump in, starting with overall energy through oracle cards, and then we'll dive deeper into the story with tarot as we progress. So let's start with looking at this recent past energy. What has Gemini been dealing with? Overall energy for Gemini's recent past. Infinite blessings, open your heart. Inner truths. Okay. So it feels like things have been a bit of a struggle for a while. Kind of navigating, I kind of just get this image of like navigating darkness in some way. And I feel like I kind of saw that before I actually really saw this card. See, there's like this girl and she's like navigating like this cave with a light. Like that's what I kind of feel things have been like for you. And I feel like the universe is trying to push you toward some blessings here. But I feel like it's like you've been trapped in this cave. You've been trapped in this darkness. You've been trapped here in some way. Now, when we've been struggling for a really long time, sometimes we stop hoping or believing that things can get better. And that's where we pretty much solidify things never getting better for us, which is really hard because it's like having faith in the midst of struggle when struggle has been happening for so long that's incredibly challenging to do. That's not an easy thing to do. But I also feel like you're coming to the end of some sort of pretty deep struggle here, because I do feel like you've been navigating this darkness well, or this difficult period well. And I feel like you're coming to some sort of like, I don't know if it's like a light at the end of the tunnel or what, but what does Gemini need to know about their current energy? It's like the universe is trying to get you to see how much is available to you still. Especially if there's been like a loss or something, there might be this feeling that you'll never be happy or things will never get good again. And that's not true. I know that it can certainly feel like that sometimes, but shift your energy. Shift your energy. Empowerment and then breakthrough. So you're being asked to tap into, and this is not easy, but your source of inner power, and understanding that where you've been and what you've experienced and where you're at right now is not a reflection of where you can go. And you are so much more powerful than you think. You're so much more capable than you think. And you're also so much more supported than you think by something bigger than you. Now, obviously, you're not going to take my word for it. I'm not expecting you to, but I do very much feel like you're being asked to really find some sort of faith, hope, belief that, lies within you. And maybe you are. And maybe this is just, you don't realize how strong you are becoming because of this period that you've really been dealing with. Because I do feel like strength is forged in the fire and faith is forged in the fire. Like we become the people that we are because of what we've overcome. Now, that doesn't mean we need to identify with our pain or anything like that, but we can understand that if we look at everything that happens in our life from a lens of like, how is this happening for me? We can find in some way strength or knowledge or wisdom or something that allows us to move forward in a way that we wouldn't be able to if we hadn't have gone through the things that we have. So I do very much feel like you are kind of shifting into a lighter energy, one that's a little bit more like not just lighter in terms of like heavy versus light, but like also like dark versus light, like a more like a brighter energy as well. Which might be hard to believe if you've been struggling for a while, but what does Gemini need to know moving forward? Bountiful harvest. And trust your own understanding with Make-A-Wish. Wish is granted in some way. And then I've seen this card a few times. I don't know why, but I keep like peeking at the back of the deck and renewal of peace. This is like the third time that I've seen it. So I don't know what... You've definitely been on some sort of journey, but it's like you're coming to some sort of an end of a journey here. And then, yeah, there's like wishes granted. I feel like one of the hardest parts of like a spiritual journey or just really life in general is that there are going to be periods where we feel lost, where things feel dark, where we're experiencing grief or loss or just a like onset of setbacks and challenges. But what we don't realize is that every single time we face those experiences and we overcome them, we are actively manifesting positive experiences for ourselves. But the hard part is that when we give up and we decide that like things can never get better, and that's why I said this at the the very beginning of this reading, is like if you decide that like things can never get better and that they're never going to improve, you're probably going to be right about that. And that's why losing your faith can be so damaging, because you're going to start to experience a reality that reflects back at you that fear and that belief that you've acquired. So that's why like not giving up on the belief that your life can improve or that things can get better, that you can be happy or loved or abundant or successful or whatever the case is, no matter how much you've struggled. And trust me, I am not saying this is an easy thing to do, but I do really feel like that's what you're really being pushed into right now. And on the other side of it is like, I mean, you literally have bountiful harvest here. So I do feel like, it's kind of like, wishes granted almost on the other side of a pretty difficult struggle. But let's look at this overall theme of the reading. What does Gemini need to know? Overall theme of this reading for Gemini. Yes? Okay. Prosperity lies ahead. It's time to release negativity and look at the bigger picture. So this is the second time we're seeing something about, abundance, prosperity, bountiful harvest, like in your future energy. And I feel like that's where you're kind of in this place where it's like you have this opportunity to create, I feel like, some really wonderful things in your life, but it's going to require you to see that as a possibility, which is difficult when you've been through so much. So I think that when I talk about like maintaining an optimistic or faith-driven mentality, I think a lot of people have a tendency to call that out and be like, oh, that's toxic positivity. Toxic positivity is ignoring how things are and just saying, oh, everything's great, I'm fine, I'm wonderful, I feel good all the time. That's not realistic, and that's not natural, and that's not helpful for anybody. But of keeping a faith-driven, like optimistic mentality is being able to look at what's going on in your life and say, this might suck, or I might not be where I want to be, or I've been struggling for a really long time, but I know the universe is leading me toward better. I know that things are going to improve. I know that I'm deserving of good things. And that allows you to really tap into a different perception of your reality, because your perception of your reality is going to be everything. And if you're stuck in this belief that things can never get better, you might be right. You might find yourself stuck in that same reality over and over again. And that's why I feel like you have this shift your energy card, especially with the look at the bigger picture, is like trusting that there are really wonderful things to come for you. I know what it's like to not want to get your hopes up, though, when you've been struggling for a really long time. I know what it's like to not want to be disappointed again. So I get that, but it's not about like expecting, miracles necessarily. Well, no, it is actually. It is about expecting miracles. Like, I think that, there's a difference between expectations being let down because things don't work out exactly like we planned or like we think that they should. But when we can see things through the lens of like, this is working out in a way that I don't currently understand, that's where we're able to surrender it over to something bigger than us and move through it instead of trying to control it, resist it, or fight against it. So I don't know. I feel like you have some cool things coming here, Gemini. I feel like you deserve it too. Not because you've struggled. Your struggle doesn't make you deserving. You've always been deserving, but I do feel like you have struggled for certain things, and there will be, I guess, call it rewards, but not rewards for the struggle. Just like in general, life is an up and down. When things suck for a little bit, things ultimately eventually get better. What does Gemini need to know about this past energy? Infinite blessings with inner truths. Five of Wands. So yeah, I mean, literally, Five of Wands, struggle, conflict, like Ten of Swords, and man, has it been painful. Tower, Eight of Cups. I mean, this is some difficult energy. This is like, there you are. It's the Queen of Swords. I mean, yeah, I felt it from the very beginning of this reading that you've been going through some really painful things. But then you have this Ten of Cups with the Ace of Pentacles. So it feels like it's leading you toward deeper fulfillment in some way. I will say, like, it's a very common topic talked about in the spiritual community, but the whole dark night of the soul thing, right? Where you have to face this darkness, you meet yourself at your deepest fear, your deepest shame, and it awakens you to more light. It awakens you to more abundance. You then get to experience more good because of the darkness that you face. And I think that, one of the things that I've really had to work on my journey is getting to that place of acceptance about the dichotomy of life, that every good comes with a bad, every light comes with a dark. Like, things are not always going to be good, and there's going to be periods of struggle, and there's going to be periods of time where things suck, but there's always also periods of time where you're not struggling and things don't suck. And I'm not saying that to say like, oh, you're always going to struggle and things are always going to be hard. I'm saying that to say that all of the bad stuff ends. And I think that one of the things that keeps us held back from experiencing the good things is when we start getting so lost in the bad that we start to believe that things can never get better. And that belief leads us to that reality, which is one of the biggest things that I've been talking about. So I don't know, like, I don't want to downplay your struggle, and I don't want to tell you how you should feel. I actually feel like you probably feel exactly like you do for a reason, and you're completely justified in that. But I also feel at the same time that you can break yourself out of this. I feel like you can create better for yourself, and I feel like that's what this current energy is all about. I can already tell. I feel like some people are going to get mad at me about this reading, because I think a lot of people, and one of my favorite quotes is, that is the extent to which a person can grow is directly proportional to the amount of truth they can accept about themselves without running away. It's actually worded a little bit different than that, but it's like the degree to which a person can grow or whatever. is directly proportional to the amount of truth they can accept about themselves without running away. When we are constantly looking at our life, and this is where things get real, okay? So please bear with me through this, because this is something that I've had to learn, and it has drastically changed my life for the better. When we're constantly looking at our life through a victim mentality, and it's not saying you're not a victim, okay? But when you're constantly looking at, why is this happening to me? Everything's happening to me. The world is against me. The universe hates me. People hate me. Nothing's ever going to work out. Like, when you are telling yourself these things over and over again, you are actively creating a reality that reflects that back at you. And I learned that for myself, because a lot of the reason that I was very miserable for a really long time is because I did struggle from a very young age. And I started to identify so heavily with my struggle that I didn't know how to not struggle. It's like I didn't know how to be happy, how to be free, how to be loved, because I had spent so much time not being those things. And I don't look at that version of myself and go like, you're so stupid. I look at that version of myself and I just want to hug myself and tell me that it can get better, but that change, it starts within me, and it starts with the way in which I perceive myself and the way in which I perceive my struggle. And I feel like this is like one of those, like, there is purpose for the things that you're going through. There's a purpose for your pain. There's a purpose for every period of our life, but we have to find that through the lens of how is this happening for me, so that we can create better, tapping into that. How am I growing, healing, evolving through this in a way that I never would have if this didn't happen? Because that allows us to find that purpose, to embrace that purpose, and to come out on the other side understanding that it did happen for a reason, and it did lead us to better, which is, I feel like, very much what this is talking about. Current energy for Gemini. Yeah, so you're closing out a very difficult cycle. And as you get closer to the end of a cycle, the harder things feel, the more painful things can be, the more heavy the energy is. So, sometimes it does feel like it's getting worse. Sometimes it feels like things are not getting better, like no matter how hard you try, they're just getting worse. But one of the things that I've really learned is that it really is always darkest before dawn. And I feel like things are about to shift for the better for you here. But I also feel at the same time that it's going, and I said this already, it's going to require an inner shift. You have more power than you think. You don't have power over what happens to you, okay? What happens to you will always be out of your control. But you do have power over how you respond. You have power over how you choose to show up moving forward. You don't have to let what you've been through and what you've been experiencing dictate where you go. And that's where I feel like a lot of people don't understand like how to tap into that inner power, because they're waiting to feel confident, or they're waiting to feel supported by the universe, or whatever the case might be. But faith and showing up for the life that you deserve is not a feeling. It's not feeling good all the time. It's not feeling 100% sure that everything's going to work out in your favor all the time. It's acting as if. It's showing up as if that were true. It's choosing to believe that things can get better, and continuing to do everything that you can to improve your life, or to make things better for you. I think that the only thing that can defeat us is the second that we give up. We stop believing that we can improve, that our life can get better, that possibility exists. So I feel like you're kind of going through a pretty deep test right now, I think is a good way to say that. It's not that the universe is testing you and going, haha, like, will you fail or will you pass? It's that the universe is putting you through certain things that your soul needs to go through to heal, to grow, to evolve. And the universe is sitting there right beside you saying, you can do this, you can make it through this, you're stronger than you think, you're more capable than you think. Like, the universe is here supporting you through this. But understand that this is happening for a reason. I think I look back to one of the hardest periods of my life, where I essentially went through my entire life falling apart. I lost pretty much everything. I didn't know who I was at the time, because I had lost so many things, and it was bad. And that period of my life taught me so much. At the time, it just felt shitty. It was just horrible. It was a horrible experience. The whole thing from start to finish, not great. But I'm very grateful for that period now. Not to the extent that it's like, oh, I want to do it all again, but to the extent that like I would go through it again if I knew that it was going to get me to be the person that I am today and get to experience the life I have now. So I've really learned that even the worst periods of our life can become some of the best things for us at the end of the day, as long as we don't give up on believing that our life can get better. And trust me, during that period of my life, there were a lot of times I wanted to give up, and sometimes where I was pretty damn close, but I didn't, and I kept holding on, and I kept believing, and I kept having faith, and I kept showing up, even on those days where like I just didn't feel like I could get out of bed. And it did. Eventually my life improved, and I was able to create one that was even better than the one that fell apart in the first place. So, I think that if we're willing to find purpose in our pain and purpose through the painful experiences that we go through, the other side of it is always worth it. But I also know that that's not always easy. I'm not claiming that it's easy. I'm not saying that it was easy for me either. But I do believe that a big part of why I was put on this earth was to help people through those periods. I was put through one of those periods to make it out the other side, to help people who are going through those periods so they can make it out the other side. So I found purpose in my pain, and I know that you will too. I'm sorry, my bangs are driving me crazy today. Okay. What does Gemini need to know moving forward? Make a wish with bountiful harvest. Like it all makes sense. Yeah, because then I was literally saying it's like you see the purpose in all of it, and then you had this Judgment card come out. 5 of Pentacles, the 8 of Swords in reverse, and the Judgment here. It's like, yeah, and then the Sun. So it's almost like understanding that everything that's been lost is returned in some way in your life. It's like the love lost, you will experience that again. The money lost, like that is still available for you. The hope, the joy, all of the things that you feel you've lost through the things that you've been through, all of those things are still very, very available to you. And I actually feel like this is the ability to experience them even more than you would have been able to back here. So this to me feels like getting to a place where you're able to see that everything is worth it, that the things that you're able to attract and the places that you're able to go and the experiences that you're able to have, like you wouldn't be able to have these things if you weren't making it through what you are right now. So this does feel like it's all worth it. But with the Strength in the Sun, this is very much about confidence. Finding that power within is going to be so incredibly important. And a lot of that power within is going to be reflected in how, supported that you believe that you are. And I feel like the universe through this reading is telling you, you have no idea how supported that you are. Zoom out your lens though. Focus on the bigger picture. It's easy to get lost in what, all of the reasons you have to be not hopeful, I guess. But I feel like you have just as many reasons to be hopeful. Try as hard as you can to focus on those, because I do feel like things are going to change. I do. I feel like things are going to shift. And I think that you're going to get to a point where you feel like it's all worth it. I've talked to a lot of people who have gone through really difficult periods in their life. And the people who make it out on the other side always say, I'm so glad I didn't give up. I'm so glad I kept trying. I'm so glad I kept showing up, because I'm now grateful for who I am and the life that I get to live because of that period. And I think that that's where you'll start to experience that too in this future energy. But it's going to require you to keep showing up in the belief that things can get better. I'm going to hop on over to the extended. We're going to dive deeper into these messages, looking at what you need to do right now in order to move forward in alignment with your higher self. And then I have an advice card to pull from your spiritual team at the very end. Thank you so much, Gemini, as always, for your support of my channel. I do obviously hope that this reading helped. and resonated with you in a way that you were needing today. And as always, I wish you nothing but love and healing and all of the wonderful things that you deserve and desire on your journey moving forward. All right, bye, Gemini.